Okay guys, I hope you can hear me. I am at the thrift store. You can't see the sign. There's a loud air conditioner over here, so I hope you can hear me. But I have no business being here, but I was out running a couple of errands, and I am gonna go to a coffee shop and work after this. So I thought we would just pop in and see what we find today. Okay, the first store I went to was Helping Hands. It's one of the larger thrift stores in our area. And I'm just going to walk you through and show you what I look for. These canisters were nice. They're copper, but they look like they've been exposed to water. And I would really want those in better condition unless I was going to paint them or repurpose them for some reason. So I would consider that kind of a fixer-upper. Nice plate. And in my dishes, I always look for pieces that are not cracked, that are in usually excellent condition with very little exception, because there's just so much of it available. Why take something that's cracked or broken? This smoked glass set was beautiful, and $10 was a pretty good price. Had some hobnail detail on it, and the smoked glass is really popular right now. I always look over in the linens, and specifically I've been looking sort of for textiles lately. Okay, I usually look over in the textiles as well, and lately I've been looking for tapestries, which are really popular right now. This isn't exactly something I'd have in mind, but it was very pretty in the right space. And then I saw this paper lantern, and it's hard to see the scale of how big that was, and that was $2, and I kind of wish I would have gotten that because I love overscaled accessories and light fixtures and things. I don't know where I would have used it, but I bet I would have found a place. And then I do like to look through the pictures, especially for usable frames. A lot of times the prints aren't what I would want, but there were some nicer frames over here and decent price for the size. And then of course checking out the furniture. I don't really need any, but a lot of times I'll flip some furniture just to get my little home decor fund going. But at these prices, $50 for that chair. It looks vintage, but you can see it's been glued, it's been broken, so that would be a definite fixer-upper and a pass. I don't think it's very sturdy, and I think the price was a little bit crazy on that. Facebook Marketplace is a great place for furniture lately, and here was a little chest that was great, but it was $50. And again, I think you could do so much better on Marketplace or possibly even a garage sale if you're really trying to find budget things. And of course, in furniture, I do look for really good quality. I try to get solid wood as much as possible. There are things you can do otherwise, but usually solid wood is what I'm looking for. This was a nice looking piece, but again, a fixer-upper at a high price. So that doesn't meet my criteria at all. And then any of this furniture that I was looking at was really dated, and it's upholstery. So if you're great at making slip covers, some possibilities there. This bench I thought was a good value. It's $30, and you could put some conditioner on the top of that. But again, the base would need to be worked on because it's pretty dated. So just a consideration when you're bringing things home. And there was a leather chair that was interesting, but I would look more for a pair and a little better condition. Then we went to this great little coffee shop, and this was recommended to me by my niece Yvonne, and the wallpaper in there just kills me. I could just stare at it all day, and I love the light fixtures. And then it was on to Samaritan Shop. There's my son who was with me. And Samaritan Shop is still one of my favorite places. Some of their prices have gone up, but then some are reasonable. So I don't know if it's different people pricing things. I'm not sure, but it varies a lot. So to me, that's worth checking it out. I loved these Pier 1 sort of decorative bowls, pedestal bowls. Just beautiful, but I didn't really know what I would use them for. They would even be good for a flower arrangement, but I just don't have the storage for big pieces like that. So I passed on those, but here's more of those plates. If you've seen in my previous video that I got teacups and plates, vintage ones in that gorgeous color. I like to look in the vases or vases and the candle holders, those kind of things sometimes can be really had for a bargain. And checking out the furniture over here, loved this rush seat sort of French country bar stool for $8, but there was only one of them. If there would have been 2 or 3, they definitely would have been coming home with me. And again, considering that a lot of these pieces are fixer-upper, so I think I always factor that into, how much I'm paying for it. Really liked that leather chair. It had possibilities. And this was a great little cabinet, little chest of drawers that didn't need much, and that was $30, so I thought that was reasonable. That could add some patina into a space. Back over by the glassware, and I spotted these, and I felt like they were crystal, and they're $2 a piece for the little compote dishes. And look at that, it's Irish crystal with the tags still on it. These were gorgeous, gorgeous. So I kind of agonized over those. I don't know how much I would use compote little dishes. And there's the big container. Would be really nice with a trifle or even a flower arrangement. If you throw baby showers or wedding showers, this would be something that you would probably need to bring home. And I think the big one was $8 and the little cups were $2. Just beautiful. They had some pressed glass pieces that were pretty. Mixing bowls, if you're needing to add those to your collection at home. These were in nice shape. And again, I always look for chips or cracks or repairs. And it's very rare that I will bring anything home that has any of those. I thought these were kind of cute for summertime. A little bit of drip wear. And I looked at the copper mold, but it was just aluminum with the paint over the top, not like the heavy, nice ones I've gotten at estate sales. And then on to the vintage shop over at Samaritan Shop, which is one of my favorite places to look through. Here's a toll tray, and I really love them in these neutral colors. I don't really collect them, so I don't usually pick those up, but I like seeing them out in the wild. And then studio pottery is something that I will always grab when I see it at a price that I like. And this was a beautiful set, a bowl with a plate. I don't care if it's amateur or professional, I just love it. Cute little mid-century vase or pedestal bowl. And of course the vintage books always catch my eye. These were, I think, close to $60 for the set, and I've done way better than that at estate sales and thrift stores in the past, but if you love them, you might want to get them. That was a great rush seat bench, was already sold. And these little pillows that looked like they were handmade, cross-stitched. I could be wrong, but the brown is so popular right now that I really did consider those. Then there were some interesting lamps. And I always like to look at lamps because you can really get a bargain in thrift stores a lot of times. And then these dishes, oh my goodness, that blue and white, just stunning. I can't remember the name of the pattern. It's got a Bloomingdale's sticker, the vintage sticker still on it, which is so cute. Just loved that blue and white. But then my eyes went up the shelf, and this just made me weak in the knees. This chinoiserie type of plates and bowls and huge set, and just the colors, everything about it. Stunning. So pretty. Looked like that was a coffee carafe with like a thing underneath to keep it warm. And this is the Nasco Sayonara set. Okay, first off, it was that Samaritan shop. I'll show you this first. I haven't even unwrapped anything because you guys have given me feedback that you love the paper being unwrapped. So I guess technically this could be an ASMR video or something like that, right? So I found this sort of earthenware jug vase, and this was $4, and I actually really debated about it, but I loved all the detail on it, and it's just got that earthy look that is so popular right now, and I can add it with other vases that I have to put it in a grouping. Next one is not home decor, but it's a book, and it's called Earthing, the Most Important Health Discovery Ever, which I had been looking quite a bit into for the last, gosh, at least 2 or 3 years. And it's just basically about, we are electrical beings, you know, even just studying anatomy and physiology. These are just facts. And it's got Stephen T. Sinatra, MD. And I've listened to different interviews with him. He's a cardiologist. And he was sort of a skeptic, but then started looking into the science and some of the results he was getting with some of his heart patients. And so I would love to get into this and get reading this. The tough part for me is sitting still long enough to read without double tasking. Normally I'm doing audiobooks lately just so that I can listen to them while I'm working in my kitchen or something like that. So I'm hoping to at least hit the highlights in this. And it was $1. So I thought that was worth the $1 to hopefully get something out of it. My next find was something that I don't necessarily really need, and I didn't expect to really like it, but it's kind of been growing on me, is this dripware. And I think that's the right name for it. If I'm wrong, forgive me, but it is Hull Pottery. I don't know if you can see that, Hull. And sort of a mid-century feel to them. My one friend, Corey, collects this, and that's what kind of got my radar on it even to begin with, is that we were out one time, and I think she bought a pitcher or something, and I thought, well, it's really earthy and pretty, and the browns are getting so popular now, and I really do love that earthy, sort of organic, modern cottage kind of look. So these were, and I had not seen them at this kind of price. It was $1 for each mug, and I ended up being able to get 4 mugs. There was a very small chip on the bottom of one mug, but it won't affect the wear or even probably going in the dishwasher. So I got 4 of those. And then they did have 2 little saucers with the cups, which you don't often find with sort of a mug shape. And I really loved them, but one of them had been broken and repaired, so I just left both of those behind. But there were some great little plates, and just look at the finish on those, the paint rather, on those. The way, I don't know how they do that, if they spatter it and It does that in the kiln. I don't know the process, but it's very nature looking. And so I really liked it. And I'll tell you who was excited about it, where my son Luke was with me and he really liked them. And then I brought them home, and of course Rob loved them because they're got that mid-century twist to them, and he loves mid-century stuff way more than I do. We would probably have a lot more of it if it were up to him. And he loves brown. So there you go. I got 3 plates and 4 of the mug-shaped cups. So we'll look forward to using those, and they were $1 a piece. So why not? Next thing, you know I've told you before, if you watch my channel, how I am about lamps. And I have barely any place to put them. But this was too good to pass up. It was in that, they have a vintage shop off the back of a Samaritan shop. In the front is the big thrift store, but towards the back they have a small sort of vintage where they pull some of the more vintage finds and put them back there. Well, there were 2 of these, but the other one was a little bit wonky. I want to say it was just like bigger around and I wasn't sure if it sits right on the table, so I decided against that one. Who knows, I may go back and look and see if it's still there. But I think I'm going to definitely try to strip this down to the raw wood and just see what I've got there. Here's the bottom, and I think it might look really cool stripped down just in the raw wood, or maybe even put a little wax over it, and of course put a little shade on it, and I might put it on my kitchen counter for a light. But I just love that it's made out of a log. And you know, you try to buy these in a boutique or somewhere handmade off of Etsy or anything like that, which I think is great to support makers in that way, but you're not going to pay $12 like I did. So I'm really happy with this find. And my next thing that I found was also in that vintage shop in the back of the thrift store. And I couldn't believe it was still there because I love it so much. This giant hand doing the okay sign. And it is so fun. I noticed there's a couple little marks, but I think it's paint or something. I haven't even tried. Like I said, I kept everything in the packages for you until I was going to show these things to you. And I think that will come right off with soap and water. But this is just so fun. Look how big this thing is. I think it'll be great on a shelf or even my china cabinet or just somewhere in the mix on a desk or something like that. I just love big impact, kind of quirky, fun accessories like this, especially if you have a real traditional house or you have a lot of vintage or something like that. I think this is what gives it a little bit of edge and gives it a little bit of uniqueness and kind of speaks to the, you know, the people that live there. So this was a fun find, and this was $14, which, you know, a little higher than probably a thrift store price. Maybe not these days, but definitely not as high as sort of an antique market or flea market or somewhere that, you know, things are more, even more curated. I often see quite a few things in that vintage shop in the back there, and sometimes the price is just way beyond what I would want to pay, but a lot of times it's affordable, and there's some really unique stuff in there, which is fun. Then in the evening, Rob and I had gone over to Goodwill and just had run in. I hadn't been there in ages, and I wasn't really finding things when I would go in there, but you just never know, right? Anyway, this was a little bit of a contested, you know, I like to always tell you whether, if Rob and I are together, whether, you know, we agreed on it or what each of us thought about it. Or this is one that Rob was not too sure about. I saw these and I just loved the color. And then I did a search on them while we were in the store. And turns out they are actual vintage Libby glasses. They're called, it starts with a C. It's hard for me to read. It's hard for me to read without
reading glasses on because it's very subtle. But if you've seen these before, you may know what they are. But I really liked them. And then when I searched Anthropologie, gets me every time. Anthropologie has some very similar shape and color. I didn't look at the price on them, but I'm sure they're bare minimum, gosh, at least $12 a piece. And these were $1.99. And I got 8 of the bigger ones. So I thought I could use these for family dinners when all of us are here. There's usually 7 or 8 of us. Or, you know, we could just use them on an everyday basis. But they're just that subtle blue-green will go with anything in my house. Small ones. These are great little glasses. And I think I got 4 of these, which, you know, I figured we wouldn't use as much. But strangely enough, we have the clear ones similar to this. And I use the smaller size a lot. I find that, I don't know, tell me what you think. I find that if I get a giant glass of water, it just seems like too much. It overwhelms me, which is totally ridiculous. But if I'll do a little glass like this and just keep refilling it, I end up, I think, drinking more water. So psychologically, I don't know, you can analyze me if you like, but I like these smaller glasses. But these are a nice sort of iced tea or, you know, dinner glass size as well. So those were $2 a piece. And I thought that was a really nice deal on those. So I didn't really need more glasses. So we'll see where I can even fit them in. I'm kind of, I have several, you know, I've found some vintage dinnerware, and some of it's just more for display or to use underneath our everyday plates as kind of chargers. Honestly, now we have that white Fiesta ware, and the salad plates of those are pretty big, and that's what I usually use all the time, and Rob does a lot as well. And so to set them on top of a bigger vintage plate or something like the lettuceware or the blue onion that I have, and it's just really a pretty place setting. If I would ever make the effort to do that, I need to do that more often now that I have all this gorgeous dinnerware. So anyway, that was my haul for today, and I hope you enjoyed going along to a couple thrift stores with me. And you know, sometimes you find what you're looking for and sometimes you don't, and it's okay either way, because it's a fun hobby and it can be quite inexpensive. But especially if you really stick to your guns. Of course, I end up buying a little bit more than I normally would if I didn't have this YouTube channel. Let's be real here. But if you need to decorate your home and start from scratch, and you know, your furniture pieces are costing you an arm and a leg, the house is costing you an arm and a leg, but you want it to be beautiful, you want it to be personalized, well, vintage and thrifting is a great way to do it. I've done it for decades, and so I was always able to indulge my passion for our home and for surrounding ourselves, you know, in beauty and personalizing our home, but without breaking the bank and not having to have a really large budget. So if that speaks to you and you like DIY and lifestyle content, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss anything from our channel. Thank you so much for being with me today and listening to me ramble on and show all my fun thrift finds. And I really appreciate you guys, and I love hearing from you in the comments, and I really like this community that we've created. Let's keep it going, and I will see you soon.